What is up, everyone? It's Adnan Shafi again, back with Pariah Nation. Apologies for not posting as much. I did say that I was going to be taking a break, but once again, welcome back to this exclusive episode, and I hope that you guys will enjoy it. Let's get right into it. It's no surprise that people are awestruck by the different types of wild animals present on the African continent. Whether it is due to their unique patterns or their general exclusiveness to the continent, many non-Africans have exhibited a peculiar fascination with African wildlife. This probably explains the large volume of tourists that visit Africa in order to experience a safari. Looking back into history, we find that this interest in exotic animals is not limited to the modern day. We also find that these animals played an important role in shaping political strategy around the world. African wildlife featured prominently in luxury life, and did so as early as the time of Hatshepsut in Egypt. It is reported that she was one of the first royal figureheads to have her own menagerie. Additional drawings from the 15th century BCE suggest that these giraffes may have even been used to symbolize Egyptian domination over the Nubians due to the subliminal techniques used in the art depicting them. Some records also suggest that Caesar himself took a giraffe back to Rome in 46 BCE. The Romans named these giraffes camelopards, implying that it had the characteristics of a camel and a leopard. Funnily enough, the official scientific species name of the giraffe today is Camelopardalis. In later periods, we see the Nubian kingdom of Makuria sending a leopard and a giraffe to the court of Justin II in 572 CE, as recorded by John of Bilqar. These are just some of the examples of this practice taking place, and soon enough, other African kingdoms would follow suit, sending exotic animals as far as China. This begs the question, why were these animals so sought after all around the world? Sources in many cases tell us that they served to enhance the ruler's claim to power. In Europe, specifically Italy, it was common for aristocrats and government officials to keep exotic animals at certain points in history. These animals would usually be used to represent specific character traits such as strength, elegance, or ruthlessness. This becomes evidence when we look at the kinds of animals that these members of high society kept. It was reported that there was no fewer than 25 lions living in the Palazzo Vecchio in Florence, and it was not uncommon to see leopards being used for hunting. There is also further evidence that suggests that the Dukes of Milan kept leopards, and so did the Duke of Calabria, the latter also possessing camels and ostriches. Perhaps the most interesting case of owning exotic animals is that of the Pope, who is reported to have owned elephants and rhinos. Undoubtedly, many of these animals, especially the predators, must have been chosen because they gave off an image of strength and power that the rulers or aristocrats wanted the people to associate with the government or the estate. It is therefore clear from these examples that Italian high society, at many points in history, heavily valued exotic animals from Africa, and they formed an important part of the cultural and political strategy. Now that we have seen the importance of these animals in Italian high society specifically, let's examine how different societies around the world reacted to the giraffes that arrived on their shores. In particular, we will focus on 3 cases where giraffes were sent from African states to France, Italy, and China. In 1486, a 16-foot tall giraffe wound up in the city of Tuscany, a special diplomatic gift from the Mamluk ruler of Egypt, Sultan al-Qaitbay. It is said that this giraffe was given to Lorenzo Medici in order to secure his support in the ongoing conflict between the Mamluks and the Turks, who they had been revolting against since 1467. Medici himself had a burning desire to emulate Caesar's giraffe exploits in order to add to his own power, prestige, and mystique. This gift, as expected, caused an absolute frenzy in the local towns. It even ended up featuring in notable art pieces such as the Journey of the Magi and the Triumph of Caesar. It also made its way into the writings of Angelo Poliziano and Antonio Costanzo, 2 prominent figures in Italian literature. When word reached France, it was reported that King Louis XI's daughter had the greatest desire to see the giraffe. From all this, it is clear to see that the giraffe had a profound effect on the people of Tuscany, and this effect, it seems, has lasted to the modern day. This is evidenced by the fact that a neighborhood in Siena, Italy, was named in honor of the giraffe, and the riding team in Siena also commemorate the giraffe through having it featured on their racing silks. The next time Europe would see a giraffe was over 300 years later in 1826, when Muhammad Ali Pasha, the Ottoman viceroy of Egypt at the time, sent one to King Charles X of France. This was a strategy put together by the Sultan and his advisors to ease relations between the Ottoman Empire and France. These relations soured due to Ali Pasha's military intervention in Greece, which was aimed at putting down a revolution. It was under these conditions that France sought to support the Greeks, a move that would be detrimental to the Ottomans. To counter this, Bernardino Drovetti, the French consul in Egypt, a private advisor to Muhammad Ali Pasha, and a well-known tomb raider, came up with a plan. Drovetti had already sent African animals such as parrots, hyenas, and wildcats to Paris to stock the king's menagerie, and it seems that Charles X had an ever-growing appetite for such animals. Drovetti theorized that by sending a giraffe to France, they could reassure the French public that Ali Pasha and the Ottomans had amicable intentions, while also entertaining them in the process. With the plan in place, Ali Pasha set off trying to find the right giraffe to suit his needs. He sent a group of Arab hunters to catch a young giraffe in what is now southeastern Sudan. Although they were successful in catching a giraffe, they did so while also tragically killing its mother. This young giraffe's journey had now begun. After traveling up the Nile and eventually to Alexandria, she headed across the Mediterranean to the city of Marseille, where she received a warm reception. She then began to trek all the way to Paris clad in an oilskin blanket decorated with the emblem of the King of France. When she got to Paris, a massive crowd of 30,000 people turned out to see her. Many marveled at the creature, and it wasn't long before she became the talk of the town. In fact, in the summer of 1872, some 100,000 people came to look at her. The city was taken by storm. Not only did the giraffe impact the economy, it shaped and created entire trends in theatre and cuisine. It is said that children walked around Paris with giraffe-shaped biscuits, and their mothers often kept a hairstyle called à la girafe. Entire songs were created about the giraffe, and the natural pattern of the giraffe featured on textiles and wallpapers. Soon after, however, the population turned their attention to other attractions, and the giraffe lived peacefully for a further 18 years before passing away. Honestly, it's surprising that this event rarely appears on the historical record, and its significance is incredibly underplayed. This fascination with giraffes did not end in Paris though. It ranged all the way to China. Let's find out how the giraffe ended up all the way there. Our story starts in 1414, during the Chinese Age of Exploration. They already established trade routes with the Swahili states in India, and Somalia. This gave them even more access to rulers who had the capacity to capture exotic animals. In fact, we see a massive interest in exotic African animals from the Chinese rulers as early as 618 CE. On to the first giraffe. It was originally given as a gift to the new king of Bengal during his coronation, and it is said to have originated from Malindi. The Bengalis then gave the giraffe to the Chinese, but because the Chinese feared that the giraffe might not survive the long journey, they sent for yet another one all the way from Malindi. The first giraffe was then swiftly delivered to China by one of the ships in a fleet belonging to the Chinese Muslim general, eunuch, and traveler Sheng He. When the first giraffe arrived, Chinese scholars were quick to call it a heavenly blessing, and they determined that it must be a unicorn or a mythological creature. What confirmed this reality for them is the fact that the Somali word for giraffe roughly sounds like the Chinese word that they used for unicorn, qilin. Upon further interpretation, the scholars concluded that it was a sign of heaven's favor and proof of the virtue of the reigning emperor. Such a description can only give us a small snapshot of how powerful an effect these animals had on the populations that had never really seen them before. It was no surprise that this reception was mirrored upon the arrival of the second giraffe. The new emperor, recognizing the popularity of the animal, prepared a welcoming ceremony for the giraffe and brought with him a zebra and what may have been a gazelle. It was also reported that the government officials prostrated before the emperor and the animals. Such was the power of the African savanna manifesting itself around the world. Thank you guys for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to see more episodes like this, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will be sure to be uploading every 2 weeks from now on, just to get you guys some more African history content and current affairs. Have a good one.